Okay, welcome to our recovery clinic here at Glenwild Golf Club. I'm Craig Hocknull, Director of Instruction at this magnificent place in Park City, Utah. What we're going to be talking about today is recovering from our mistakes. So let's think about when typically are we going to need a recovery shot. We've teed off, duffed it. Okay, now we're in trouble. The ball's just kind of scampered down the fairway. It's a 400-yard hole. I've still got 300 yards in. Now I'm in trouble. I've got to play a miraculous recovery shot to help save that stroke, right? No, completely false. We don't want to try to do anything miraculous when our swing and our shot just failed us, okay? So let's say, for example, I hit my tee shot, I dribbled it down the fairway. Now I'm thinking, okay, I got to pull out that 3-wood. That 3-wood's going to send it right down the fairway. Well, I just messed up with my longest club in the bag, and now I'm going to try to hit my second longest club in the bag to try to recover. Really, as you think through as I talk about that, it does not seem like a very good idea. But that's typically what we all do. So let's think about the scenario. It's 400 yards. I dribbled it 100. I've got 300 yards left, right? So let's say we're standing on the driving range and we've been practicing for a little while, and we're just not hitting our driver very well. We're not hitting our 3-wood very well. What's a club in the bag that's going to be your go-to club? What's the easiest one for you to hit? So in my case, what I'm thinking is, okay, I've got 300 yards left. That's 150 and 150. That could be 2 pitching wedges. That could be 2 9-irons, depending on the wind condition. So I don't need to stress myself out and try to hit a miraculous 3-wood that I'm not going to hit 300 yards anyway. So if I hit a couple of 9-irons, 150, 150, what I've done is I've given myself a chance to relax. I've gone back to a club that I feel very, very confident in. And this is a situation that I call on-course driving range time, right? So it's an opportunity for me to get up there, hit a nice 9-iron, blood pressure kind of goes down, anxiety goes down, I feel a little bit more confident, and then here we go. I get to hit that exact same club again, so I get 2 shots with the same club just like you do on the driving range, right? So let's not compound the problem. Let's talk about a particular situation. So my ball's landed right here. I'm playing down the second fairway, and as I look over here, I've got low overhanging branches directly in alignment with where I'm trying to go. Well, I could take out a 3-wood, a hybrid, punch it underneath those trees, and send it down the fairway. Here's what I want you to consider, the 80-20 rule. Can I execute that shot successfully at least 8 out of 10 times, all right, 80% of the time? I don't think so, right? It's a little bit too much of a risk, and the reward isn't necessarily there. The only time I might consider that is if I was playing a head-to-head match play competition and my opponent was already in great position and I had to really pull off that great shot just to win that hole. Another situation might be I'm coming down the 72nd hole of a tournament. I've put myself in a poor position. The only way for me to win is to go for it, right? So unless those are the 2 situations that you're in, you really shouldn't be taking that much risk. Usually the situation that you're in presents you with 3 options, right? You've got a super risky option. Maybe you could only pull it off once, maybe twice if you were lucky. There's usually a middle option that maybe you can execute 4 or 5 times out of 10. And then there's typically a safer option that you can usually do 8, 9, 10 out of 10 times, which in this case would just be pitching it sideways through the pine trees, get myself back out in play, right? So that's 2 high-level explanations. One, don't compound the problem. You're struggling with your swing anyway. Go to something more comfortable. Get yourself back in play. The other one is the 80-20 rule. You've hit yourself in a bad situation. Go for the shot that you know that you can execute about 80% of the time. Okay, so now what we're going to talk about is if you want to try to hit some of these recovery shots, it's very, very worthy of your time to practice, right? If you want to get to that 80-20% rule, you really should get out and practice so that you feel confident doing that. So I'm going to present a situation to you. Here we are. My ball's lying right here in a semi-rough. My green that I'm going for is around this pine tree over there in the middle of the driving range. Okay, now if I were to take a direct route at the 130 yards that this shot requires, I could probably just take out a pitching wedge and just hit it right through the middle of those trees. So I take my pitching wedge, look at this gap, I think, okay, well maybe that's the ideal gap right here. This is the ideal situation for me to hit my pitching wedge right through those trees, right? So why not? Let's try it and see what happens. So here we are, take my setup with a pitching wedge, take my stance and just trust it and swing. Right? Use the trees are 90% air. I got super lucky on that one. Basically landed right near the pin, but that's probably not the safest approach. That was just kind of like roll the dice and see what happens, right? Really not a smart play, but again, if I had to hit that shot and the match depended on it, maybe I would go for it, right? But we're going to talk about a practical way to practice so that you can execute these shots more easily. So let's go to our scenario. We have a 130-yard shot. It's blocked out by these branches, but I have a nice opening over here to the left. So let's think through the situation. I have to impart a side spin on the ball, a slice spin in this case for me, a right-handed golfer, and curve it back around the tree. Well, at 130 yards, if I take out a pitching wedge, the only spin that I'm really going to be creating is more of a vertical spin. I cannot start that ball far enough to the left to get it to curve around, so I have to start going back down through my bag to try to find the right club. So I think this amount of curvature, I think I could probably do that with a 5-iron, right? So I'm going to take my 5-iron from this situation, and I'm going to say, let's stand here, make a couple of practice swings and see how it feels. Okay, so I take my 5-iron. I know I've got to start the ball over here toward the white flag on the short game area. Standing in this direction, I've got to open the face. Now I think I could get the ball to curve this much with a 5-iron, but the problem is now my stance is actually, I'm below the height of the ball, right? So now the ball's above my feet, which would usually produce a little bit more of a draw spin. So now I've compounded the problem. Now I've got a draw lie or draw stance, and I'm trying to hit a fade around the corner. So with this particular situation, I've got to now go all the way to a 3-iron in order to hit this shot at that flag and curve it back around, right? So here's the situation. Now I'm aiming at the flag. I've got to open up the club face, take my stance here, make my swing. Now, this particular club goes about 250 yards for me, right? I only have 130 to the pin. So if you do the math on that, I really only need to do about a half swing, right? So with a half swing, I'm going to grip down, produce the energy just to hit this half the distance that it normally would. But because I have a severe open club face, now what's going to happen is that ball's going to start out on the line where I'm pointed, and then it's going to curve back to the right. So let's see what that looks like. So feet are going in this direction over here toward the white flag. Club face is open. I'm going to swing about half. And there we go, right? Hit it around the tree, safely missing these overhanging branches. Curved it back about 30 yards of slice spin. So it's definitely worthy of your time to come out and practice. I wouldn't necessarily say practice back here like I did. We don't want to bring anybody into danger. As they say, I'm a trained professional. Don't try this at home. But I want you to try it. I want you to try it in a safe environment out here on the driving range. Give yourself a chance to hit these shots. Open the face, close the face, grip down, do full length. Just see what type of shots you can hit. And by the way, you can do this with any club in your bag, provided you understand the physics, right? If I take a 3-iron and open it this much, I will be able to impart some spin. However, if I take my 52-degree wedge and open it this much, the only spin that I'm going to be imparting is more vertical. So it's really, really difficult to try to hook or slice a high lofted club. So if you're going to try fades, I would say use a 7, 6, 5. If you're going to play a draw, you can still go all the way down to a 9-iron or a pitching wedge, because a draw spin means delofting, whereas a slice spin means adding loft. So just remember these rules. Let's run through them again real quick. From a high level, don't try to hit that miraculous shot because something's broken, right? You just mishit one. Be more conservative. Take a more conservative approach. Try to use potentially an on-course driving range opportunity. Second approach, make sure that when you're hitting your recovery shot, you've chosen a pathway and a style of shot that you can execute 8 out of 10 times, right? The 80-20 rule. Understanding some of these curves and how to hit these shots, well, you want to come and work with me. We can spend some time on the range, figure all that stuff out, because if at this point you're only successful 40% of the time, with some coaching we can get that up to over 80% of the time. And then some of these shots out from behind trees, etc., won't seem that miraculous. So thanks for joining me in this recovery clinic. Hopefully some of these tips have really been able to help you, especially from a high level. Look forward to seeing you out here on the driving range. Let me know if I can help you with your game.